Good day, Dr. Michael Fisher. I want to do a short talk here on some important reevaluation going on what is psychology and what does that mean to me, and historically as well. What does psychology mean? And moving toward and onward into almost like after the death of psychology, which I'm and others have proclaimed somewhat, is a metapsychology. I will explain a little bit about metapsychology afterwards, but that's not really the point of this video. I'm trying to get to the crux of a recalibration or a repsychologia of the quality of what is in and what psychology itself, as we know it, has been made up. In other words, how it's been constructed as a field or domain, right? The psychology, the psyche, the study of the psyche, but also the capital P, the institutional psyche of the institutional psychology that supposedly is a good thing for our psyche, or sometimes also called soul. Long history of the psyche and the soul and their connection. Can't go into all that. But in this short presentation, I want to hit on the main point. So I'll have to go to a YouTube that I just was watching that I did. So I'll do a quick share screen and a short excerpt from this video in an interview with Mabato Manse. And this was a fear talk. Let's pull that up. And yeah, have a listen to this little section, and I may stop it and comment, or I'll just play a little bit. We're well past the 3/4 mark in the video here of our conversation, and Mabato has been talking about sort of as a healer, helper herself, virtually most of her life. She's coming to this troubled zone of feeling as she's understood more and more and read more and researched more. She's especially about intergenerational, transgenerational trauma. She's starting to question just how much of a helper healer can I be? But underneath this, if you could just listen with those other ears, the secondary attention on what is it we're really talking about here in this section.
I don't know, but I think I want to continue being the best version of me and sharing with people what has helped me to have this desire to be the best version of me, because it is an extremely peaceful place to be at if people are interested. I think that is the conclusion I've come to. So no leadership, that it falls away, healer, it falls away. I'm just doing me. I'm just living my life. If people think there are any takeaways, sure, they can. Yeah. And it feels like a loss.
What's the loss again? Just clarify.
Thinking that I can help people. Yeah. It feels like I literally have something here on a lump, thinking that I can help people.
Well, isn't it because we grow up? I think there's a deep part. I certainly know it in myself as a young person, but also it is my own philosophy of human nature, is that we are actually born in a helping mode. Okay. Dr. Fisher, what are you saying right there? So when I was listening to this talk earlier today, that's what hit me is I just sort of blurted that out, even though it's not a totally new idea or thought in my own philosophy and theorizing about psychology and human nature and philosophy of life. But we're born in a helping mode. That is some kind of universal claim I'm making. And I wanted to highlight the contrast of that. I'll play a little bit more of the clip, but I think the point is hit right here. That is it true that we are born in a helping mode and we're not born so much, at least, or maybe we're balanced and born in helping mode, but that's balanced with the needing mode, needing, right? Helping and needing. and I'm making a claim. So let's just see where I take this, and if there's anything else, but I'll certainly come back and I'll do more conversation on it. We're born in a helping mode or paradigm because we are actually cared for to be born. We've actually been cared for. So we are being helped. And therefore, the helping knowing of the value of helping is we were helped, and that's why we lived. So I want to help. You see, the logic is almost unconsciously from the mother's womb.
Yeah, but
from the womb of the earth is a gift.
But to think that from your help, a person might pay it forward, because I think that is what one hopes for, right? That ripple sort of like effects, the positive impact, right?
Yeah, I think that's good. The ripple effect there you just heard, that there is this idea, which was really in my thought when I said that the mother, um, the birthing process, the gestation for the whatever close to 9 months, if, in most cases, there's a living experience there in the deep fabric of our being. We all have that, absolutely universal. We're all born to a mother. Obviously, with genetics and new technology, some individuals may not be born to a mother in that way. But on definitely the massive whole and majority, we are born into being in what I called in that interview briefly, helping knowing paradigm. Helping knowing paradigm. I'm trying to grab words for it, and that was very spontaneous in that talk. Even though I have written about, I don't think we're a needs-based creature. And that doesn't mean that we don't have a needs aspect to our creatureness and even our humanness, but we are actually more attuned to and are operative within the ripple effect of all the helping that brought us here in the first place, in this particular emergence of existence that we might call an individual organism, Michael, or yourself. Do you get that? The ripple of helping, the ripple of care is another way to put it. But I'm just kind of here focusing on helping. We could go into a care theory, which I'm also working on, and a meta-care theory. But I'm actually interested in getting to this metapsychology of realizing that the psychology is flawed, that we have been given, so heavily given, at least in the Western world, which I'm going to talk about because I live here in North America and the Americas. In the European background I come from, only one generation back. There's a deep challenge, at least required, in the building of a psychology on needs. So I'm just reading a new book by Ken Wilber. It's called Toward Radical Wholeness. And, he's been a long, interesting philosopher, psychologist, theorist of my interest for a long time, transpersonal psychology and now integral psychology, which he calls himself, and a meta theorist about theories of everything, big theories, and then right down to their small application. But he's a human developmentalist, and I'm reading it carefully this time. He hasn't written a book for 7 years or so, and I'm reading, is he still thinking the same way? And he is still building his idea of a human developmental psychology, and really it's a psycho-spirituality at the same time. That's him. That's his orientation. He's a Zen Buddhist. He's also a philosopher thinker, and he has the science background, but he has the spiritual background. And so he brings all of that together in this massive synthesis of understanding wholeness. And at the same time, he's constructing the evolutionary, the historical developmental ontogeny of a being, an organism, a being, upon this idea that we come into the world in a needing paradigm. he doesn't call it a needing paradigm, but you can see who he's citing all the time. And just the language that he uses in the book, that would be a lot more complex video or talk that I would do on taking apart some of the critical language. But I'm looking at a very progressive, very open-minded theorist and thinker here. And yet, my critic comes out and I go, there it is. You're constructing that need-based paradigm. And again, in this talk with Mabato, and in my own thinking, when I'm, really get down to it, I see that we are born into a helping, knowing paradigm. See, it's not knowledge, it's about knowing. Now there's a knowledge, there's all the knowledge that was gifted in all the organisms from the Big Bang forward in the beginning of life. Let's go at least 4 billion years, beginning of life, we roughly know. It's a long time, 4 billion. And everything has been a making of, co-creating of knowledge in all these complex ways in complex systems, sometimes in chaotic systems. But there's always still an order that makes evolution itself put some things together. And the things together eventually become what you show up as, a thing together, coming out of the womb. And holy bee, we all look and we look on the scanners, before we're even born now, and we go, holy, holy. There's a wholeness there. There's a wholeness of knowing. There's a whole package of all the gifting, all the helping that's gone on. And that helping has come from living and non-living creatures, the invisible and the visible realm. And many mysteries within those that we still do not fully understand as humans, even in our advanced technological computer systems world. See what I'm getting at? That's really the humbleness, but it's a challenge that we are not just coming into the world as needy beings in our foundational design of a psychology that you can build upon, then and build a more complex psychological theories, and then that goes right to practices of psychiatry and interventions within the psychology of education and so on. And it's also a philosophy of life and philosophy of education and growing and development. So all of those are very knitted tightly, but I'm focusing right now, just to let you know, and that's why I did this video. I'm starting to write and think a lot about journaling pages after day after day, really, that are just going, there's something fundamental about why I need to reconstruct a metapsychology, a new psychologia, which I like that term to get out of just the idea of psychology itself, but a psychologia. And it's got a quality, and I sometimes call it psychologia Q, and it's trying to get to a representative concept, inadequate as English language is going to be for this, of that which is already coming. That's what I mean by the psychologia. It's that which is already coming that we might call psychological, phenomenological, ideological, whatever it might be. It's kind of a psychological, and it's a logic as well. You can hear psychologic, but it's not the kind of logic we normally think of as logic in the rational sphere. It can include that, but it isn't limited to that. So I'm trying to get to the psychologia to reforming and revisioning and reconstructing a paradigm for something like a helping knowing paradigm at the foundational base of human psychology. And you could drop that down to species all the way back as far as you want to go. I would still say you could argue they are of the same helping knowing paradigm. In other words, we come into the world in a helping knowing mode as our dominant and predominant for most of the time, not all the time necessarily, because there is no doubt we can have a needing knowing paradigm that goes with that, which is we need to know what we need to know. That's part of survival. Fine, fine. I'm fine with that. But when you put that on the top and make it the entire picture of the human nature, of our human condition, etc., and our human potential, and it's going to influence, if you have that idea, if you have that belief, that structuration of the evolution of human development, that will determine every outcome, and it will be, quote, need-based oriented. We will think within needs. And in some videos I've done on working with young children in the last few years, since I've been here on the island, Vancouver Island, working at a daycare center, one of the things I've been doing in some of those videos is saying, I think we have to get beyond need-based educational pedagogy notions and this idea that children are constantly in need and we have to fill those needs or find ways that where others are going to fill them. And then therefore we start looking at the needs all the time rather than looking at, whoa, what if they're actually those little beings right from birth and before birth, those little beings are actually operating primarily on a helping paradigm, if you will, or a helping knowing psychologia cue toward quality. That's what the cue represents. Already moving toward quality, already moving toward, in a way, the fulfillment of that which has already helped you. And therefore, the primary motivator, we could argue, based on that paradigm, is that we come into the world ready and willing to help. So in that interview with Mabato, you just watched the clip from, when she says, maybe I'm realizing I can't help people. And there's good reason she came to that. And you'd have to listen to the whole interview, which I encourage if you wish to take more time, Fear Talk 28 on my YouTube channel. But she's really, I listen to that and I go, yeah, no, that's very much an adult, 36-year-old type declaration. Maybe I can't help people and I can only be me, only do me, and so on and so on. She's trying to get off being a leadership, being a healer, all these identities and prescriptions she has. And sometimes she feels like, oh, I can only really just do me. I hear that a lot when I talk to people who have been in the caregiving healing field. They get to that point of a kind of an exhaustion. As they say, a loss. You heard in Mabato, a loss. Feel a loss. And it's real. It's really a deep feeling. And I go, that's true. You're feeling a loss. I have no doubt. But I would then, if I had time, I would circle and circulate and help negotiate with her the permission of her working on, if we were to do a therapeutic intervention there, and keep circling back to, yes, your helping is actually your natural mode. It's actually not something you do to be good as a helper. And that's a different paradigm than trying to help people because you'll see they have needs and therefore you're helping. That's actually quite a bit distorted. It's partially true, I have no doubt, within a needing paradigm, but within a helping paradigm of you are already coming helpful because you've been helped. You see, you've been carried by the mother, which is the one of the arguments. And this is matrixial theory, Braca L. Ettinger's. And I could go into others that I think we're starting to see, at least those of us who are investigating gift-oriented rather than exchange-oriented economies and theories and paradigms of the nature of evolution in itself and development itself. What is really going on? And that's what I encourage today as we end here, is the rethinking of a need-centric worldview and coming to understand a helping or a you've been helped point of view centric, so that everything is moving for you to be a natural carer, helper. And that is actually not per se connected to burden of filling needs. See, that's the burnout paradigm, the need-based paradigm. and the way helpers get hooked into that need-based paradigm. Okay, so lots of different things I've thrown in here. It's a bit intense. Um, anyways, I'm glad that you could hang in with me a little bit on this today. Maybe rethink and rewatch this video and throw some critiques down, throw some positive ideas down, creative ideas, and I'll look forward to collating those in the comments below, and I'll try to respond to you as well. So let's keep the conversation going. It has huge implications for caregiving fields, helping fields, of course, parenting fields, education, but I think it's just generally a really important paradigm to check up and really question what is actually going on. Thanks for listening today.